Hello, and welcome back to the Thriving Metabolism podcast. If you're new here, I'm so glad that you found your way to this space. And if you've been around for a while, welcome back. You're in for a good one today. I want to start by painting you a picture. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You hit your 40s. Maybe perimenopause kicks in, or maybe you're already postmenopausal, and suddenly it feels like your body has changed. Almost overnight in some cases. Clothes don't fit the way they used to. There's this stubborn belly fat that just won't budge no matter what you eat or how many steps you do or how healthy you try to be. And it's confusing, isn't it? Because you're not sitting around doing nothing. In fact, you might even be eating better than ever. You might be walking more, watching your sugar, skipping the wine, and still the weight clings on, especially around your middle. And, I know what that can do to your confidence, to your mood, and it's frustrating and disheartening, and it can make you feel like your body is fighting against you. But here's the thing that I want you to know straight away. What's happening isn't a failure. It's not you not having enough willpower or discipline. It's a shift in your biology, your hormones, your metabolism, your stress response. Everything changes after 40. And if no one's explained that to you before, you've probably been stuck trying to solve a new problem with old solutions that just don't work for you anymore. So today, I want to talk about why belly fat becomes harder to shift during and after menopause, and more importantly, what you can actually do about it. Because there are real changes happening in your body, but you're not destined to just deal with it forever. There is a path forward, but it's not going to come from another one-size-fits-all plan that tells you to eat less and move more. You are unique, and your approach to fat loss needs to reflect that. All right, so let's dive in. So let's talk about what's actually going on here. Why belly fat feels like it's glued to your body after menopause, even when you're doing everything right. First up, hormones. Once you hit perimenopause, and especially after menopause, your levels of estrogen and progesterone and testosterone, they all start to drop. And these changes, they don't just affect your cycle and your mood. They impact where your body stores fat, how well your metabolism functions, and even how you respond to stress. So let's break this down a little bit. When estrogen drops, your body tends to shift fat storage away from your hips and thighs and towards your belly. And this is actually a survival mechanism because belly fat can produce a form of estrogen called estrone. So your body thinks it's helping by holding on to that spare tire. But of course, it's not the kind of help that you're after. And then there's progesterone, which is your calming, soothing hormone. When it declines, your nervous system becomes more sensitive to stress, which means you're more likely to get stuck in fight or flight mode. And when you're in that state, your body produces more cortisol. And guess where cortisol loves to store fat? Yep, right around your middle. And then we can't forget about testosterone, which supports muscle mass. As it drops, it becomes harder to maintain muscle that keeps your metabolism ticking over. You might be losing muscle slowly without realizing it, and that has a direct impact on how many calories your body burns at rest. But here's where it gets tricky. Most women don't feel these changes happening gradually. Instead, they feel like they wake up one day and everything's shifted physically and emotionally. You might notice more blood sugar crashes or carb cravings. You might notice energy dips and fatigue or poorer sleep, which by the way also affects your weight. You might have a general feeling that your body just isn't responding to what used to work. And that's because the metabolism naturally slows down. But many women, understandably, respond by eating less, cutting carbs, working out more, which can actually make things worse. Because now, instead of working with your body, you're actually pushing it harder while it's already under stress. So let me just say this loud and clear. It's not your fault. You've just been taught the wrong things, handed the wrong tools, and you've been told to really fight your body rather than understand it. But knowledge is power, and now that you know what's actually going on, you can stop blaming yourself and start focusing on the root causes. And that's actually what we're going to dive into next. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. Why don't the things that used to work anymore? You used to be able to cut back on snacks, maybe skip breakfast for a few days, add in a few workouts, and the weight would respond, right? Maybe not overnight, but your body felt more cooperative. And now you're eating less, you're moving more, you're trying, and your body feels like it's just ignoring you, or worse, working against you. And the worst part is the standard advice doesn't help. You know, you Google belly fat after 40, and what does come up? More calorie counting, more cardio, more cutting carbs. You know, even the plans labeled as for menopausal women are often just rebranded diet culture with hormone buzzwords slapped on top. But the truth is, these plans don't work because they're still too general. They don't take into account you, your history, your unique hormone balance, your stress load, your sleep, your thyroid, your gut, your lifestyle. So let me give you a few examples of what I mean. Take calorie restriction. Yes, technically, if you eat less than you burn, you'll lose weight. But for a woman in her 40s and beyond, whose hormones are shifting, metabolism is sensitive and stress is high. Cutting calories can actually slow your metabolism further. You know, your body isn't a calculator, it's more of a chemistry lab. And when it senses restriction, especially in a hormonally vulnerable time, it can switch into conservation mode. You feel more tired, your cravings ramp up. You might even lose a bit of weight at first, mostly water and muscle, but then it stalls and often rebounds. Does that sound familiar? Let me know in the comments if you've experienced that. Now, let's look at intense workouts. You might think, well, I just need to push harder. But over-exercising, especially things like HIIT training, every day or, long cardio sessions, they can increase your cortisol, your main stress hormone. And if cortisol is already elevated, which it often is in this life stage, that extra push doesn't lead to fat loss. It leads to fat storage, especially around your belly. And then there's the advice to balance your blood sugar, which, don't get me wrong, it is important. But what does that actually mean for you? If your cortisol is high, your blood sugar might spike even from eating healthy carbs. If your thyroid is sluggish, your digestion and insulin sensitivity might be impacted. If your gut is inflamed, you might not be absorbing nutrients well. So even your balanced meals aren't doing their job. And you know what else? Most generic plans assume that you have the energy to meal prep every Sunday, the time to cook 3 meals a day, the headspace to track every bite, and the motivation to just white knuckle your way through the 6 weeks or so. But what if you're exhausted? What if you've got kids at home, aging parents to look after, work stress, or just a sense of emotional overwhelm that makes it hard to think clearly? Never mind a plan to stick to. This is why even the well-meaning advice can feel impossible to follow or doesn't get the results it promises. And I see this time and time again with my clients. They come to me saying things like, I feel like I've tried everything and nothing's working. I've lost weight before, but now my body just won't shift it. I'm eating cleaner than I ever have, and I feel worse. I just want someone to tell me what is going on with my body. And that right there is the key, because most women don't need another generic plan. They need answers. They need someone to look under the bonnet and say, here's what's actually going on, and here's a plan that works for you. And that's exactly what I do inside my program. I don't guess, I test. We look at your hormones, your thyroid, your metabolism, and your gut, sometimes even genetics, whatever's relevant to your unique picture. Because honestly, you can't fix what you don't understand, and you shouldn't have to keep trying plan after plan, hoping that one might accidentally work for your body. You're not a failure. You're just missing the right map and the right tools to support you in this stage of life. So let me walk you through what does work, what actually helps my clients to shift stubborn weight, not just temporarily, but in a way that feels good and sustainable and deeply supportive. Because once you understand how to work with your body, not against it, everything starts to change. So stay with me. So we've talked about why belly fat gets harder to shift after menopause and why generic plans often don't work. But what does? Well, the good news is that these changes in your body, your hormones, your metabolism, your stress response, they're all addressable. You just need a different strategy, one that works with your body rather than you punishing it and pushing it into survival mode. When I work with clients, there are a few pillars that we focus on, and these aren't quick hacks or fads. They're personalized, sustainable shifts that get your body back into balance so that fat loss becomes a byproduct of better health. So let me break them down. First, finding the root causes. Most women who come to me have been trying to solve the wrong problem. They're cutting carbs and calories, but the real reason that they can't lose weight is something much deeper, like thyroid imbalances, blood sugar instability, or chronically high cortisol. That's why I start with answers. We use functional testing to look under the bonnet, things like advanced thyroid panels, metabolism markers, and sometimes gut and hormone testing. For example, one client of mine had been eating 1,400 calories a day and doing spin classes 5 times a week, but she was exhausted, bloated, and just really stuck with her weight. We discovered her cortisol was through the roof and her thyroid wasn't functioning properly. Once we fixed those imbalances without dieting, she lost 4 kilograms in 6 weeks and told me that she felt like she had her life back. Secondly, rebuilding your metabolism. The diet industry teaches us to shrink. Eat less, move more, push harder. But for women in their 40s and 50s and beyond, that often backfires. What we actually need to do is nourish the body, give it food and the right types of food and the right timing so that your metabolism feels safe and able to speed up again. Things like teaching your body that it's not in danger so that it can let go of fat. And, this doesn't mean eating kale and quinoa every day. My clients eat real food, meals that they enjoy, and they're often shocked at how much more they get to eat compared to their old diet way of eating. Thirdly, we balance hormones and blood sugar. If your blood sugar is all over the place, you'll constantly be on a roller coaster of cravings, crashes, and fat storage. So we focus on simple tweaks like pairing protein with carbs, eating enough at breakfast, and spacing meals in a way that works for your body. But it's not just about food. We also look at how stress and sleep and movement are affecting your hormones. Sometimes the biggest breakthrough comes from getting more rest, not more workouts. And I can't tell you how many women have cried happy tears when they realize they can stop punishing their bodies with exercise and still get results. Fourthly, support, strategy, and mindset. This one is huge. You don't need another plan. You need the right plan for you, plus someone who actually gets what you're going through. One of my clients said something that stuck with me. She told me, I've spent 10 years feeling like my body hates me, and now I finally feel like we're on the same team. That's the shift that I want for every woman that I work with, because once you stop blaming yourself and you start working with your biology, everything gets so much easier. Fat loss, energy, mood, even how you feel in your own skin. So what does this look like in practice? Well, for my clients, it's a combination of science-backed nutrition, functional testing, personalized support, and simple lifestyle shifts. There's no one-size-fits-all approach. What works for your best friend or even another woman the same age as you might not be right for your body. And this is why I'm so passionate about getting women off the generic hamster wheel of diets and one-size-fits-all plans, because when you actually get a plan that is built for your body, results start to feel effortless. So let's bring this full circle. If you've been feeling frustrated, maybe even a bit defeated because your body isn't responding the way that it used to, I just want you to take a deep breath and hear this. You are not broken, you're not lazy, you're not failing. Your body has changed, and it makes perfect sense that you need a new way of looking after it. Most of the women that I work with tell me that they've spent years trying to fix their bodies, trying to force weight off through restriction, willpower, and punishing workouts. And every time it didn't work, they blamed themselves. But the real issue is that no one taught them how to support their body through this mid-stage of life. No one explained how to nourish a metabolism that's been slowed down by years of dieting. No one showed them how their hormones, sleep, stress, gut health, and nervous system all impact and interact with your weight. You can't keep applying the premenopause strategy to a postmenopause body and expect it to work. That's like using the wrong charger and wondering why your phone won't turn on. And I know it can feel hard to believe, especially if you have tried everything, but your body can respond again. You can feel like yourself again. You just need the right tools and the right support. And that's not fluffy optimism, that's grounded, science-backed truth. And I've seen it play out time and time again with women just like you. So if this has been resonating with you and you've been thinking, this is exactly what I've been going through, and you're done with guesswork and Googling, let's make this the moment that you start doing things differently. There are a few ways that I can help depending on where you're at. If you want to dip your toe in and understand more about how your metabolism works at this stage of life with some simple foundational steps to give you a bit of a kickstart, why not try my 5-day metabolism reset? And I will walk you through the core areas that I focus on with my clients to shift stubborn weight without you cutting more and more from your diet. You'll find the link to that in the show notes. Secondly, if you're already thinking, Louise, I don't need more reading material, I need a plan and someone to help me make sense of my body, then let's chat. You can book a free discovery call and we'll talk through what is going on for you, what's not working, and whether one of my programs could be a good fit. No pressure, no hard sell, just a chance for you to get some clarity and for us to explore what support might help you move forwards, because you do deserve to feel good in your body. You do deserve to get support that's actually tailored to you, and you don't have to do this alone. So I'll pop the links in the show notes so that you can choose what feels right for you with where you're at today. All right, well, that is it for this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if this resonated with you, feel free to share it with a friend who might be going through something similar. And as always, if you enjoyed this chat, I'd be so grateful if you hit subscribe and follow. If you're listening on a podcast platform, then why not leave a quick rating and review? It means so much to me. Thank you so much in advance. All right, thanks again, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great day.